Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. The echo in my voice is back. Is it back in yours?
I got
Butter
it.
as well. It is back in full force. But we're going to soldier through it. We're going to have a great show for you today. We're going to proclaim victory because we are owed this victory, and it's an awesome Tuesday. I'm glad you're with me. I'm glad you're with us. I'm trying to adjust my microphone to lower this down so my echoes. I got it, Luke. We're good. Hey, while I'm doing this, make sure you're going to Fearless Mission and joining us in a real way and becoming a subscriber. Go to fearlessmission.com. Use the promo code FEARLESS. And you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. It's the greatest thing you can do to support me, us, this entire movement. And so you can participate in more victories like today. It's not just the inauguration that has me on cloud nine. It's the aftermath of the inauguration. It's the things that I'm seeing going on in American sports culture that has me really, really excited. And that's where we're going to begin today. Last night's college football national championship game on ESPN, Ohio State won the championship 34-23, and you can celebrate that, and I did. I was happy for Ohio State. I was happy for Notre Dame. Both those teams were easy to like. Both of those teams spent a lot of time talking about their faith in Jesus Christ. What not to like? But there was more going on than just the game and just Ohio State winning. We have a huge, huge victory in the culture war going on, and we can thank Ohio State, we can thank Notre Dame, we can thank Boise State. We got to thank Donald Trump. After this game, they had a conversation on ESPN about Ohio State's faith journey and what role Jesus Christ played in the success of the Ohio State football team. And they had a pretty substantive conversation in comparison to what you would normally expect from ESPN. This is a very secular organization. It's owned by Disney. They're into grooming children. They're into a satanic, demonic, secular worldview. But because the Ohio State kids and the Notre Dame kids have been so loud about their faith, ESPN could not ignore it, and they had to cover that. And because conservatives have been so loud about ESPN's unfair treatment of conservatives, at halftime of the game, ESPN ran a word from Donald Trump. They turned over like 2-3 minutes to let Donald Trump, our new president, speak. You know how often they've gone out of their way to make sure Donald Trump isn't on their platforms. We don't want to support a fascist. But because we're winning and because we've led with our faith and we forced them to start talking to us in terms that we understand and that we believe in, ESPN's over there bending the knee. They're just bending the knee. We got Stephen A. Smith in a Tim Tebow outfit bent on a bent knee to kind of let you guys know what we've done to ESPN. Just think about it. How many years ago that was? 10, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, when Tim Tebow was taking a knee and became the most polarizing athlete in all the country and everybody on ESPN. And I got to say, I was a tiny bit guilty of this at that time. I'm like, hey, Tim Tebow's stirring up so much extra stuff that he's a distraction for the Denver Broncos and any National Football League team that would get on board with him. And literally, it was our secular values that were causing Tim Tebow all the trouble. We were so committed to our secular values that, you know, a decent NFL quarterback taking a knee and in deference to Jesus Christ, his Lord and Savior, caused us so much problem, caused a distraction for us. that Tim Tebow couldn't continue on as an NFL player. And it became very polarizing. That network, that ESPN was the ringleader of that, had Scott Van Pelt, who I don't know where Scott Van Pelt stands in his religious journey, but Reese Davis, the host of College Game Day, I know where he stands. And he was the perfect person for ESPN to have on after the game to talk about Ohio State's faith walk. This type of conversation I didn't think was possible to have on ESPN. But every knee eventually bows, and we're winning the culture war because we're being loud about who we are and making them adjust to us. Instead of hiding in the closet and hiding our values, we're now led by these college kids wearing their values on their sleeve. And so now ESPN has to react to that and talk about that. Let's play the shot of Reese Davis and Scott Van Pelt talking about Ohio State postgame.
The future's really bright.
He's a faith-based guy. So is Will Howard. So is that Ohio State team. I was glad you asked about that because they talked so much about that and how much they leaned into faith. But then ultimately, because I had a coach who used to say the other team prays too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It comes down to being able to do it on the field. And I think that's what impressed me most about Ohio State is they had a bunch of guys that could have left. Right? The portal allows you to stay. And they're going to be well rewarded. They're going to be drafted high. But it seems that both faith in above and faith in one another is what got Ohio State through. As you talk to them, what do they share?
That was something Demeco, Book, and I talked about this when I went to visit with Ryan Day and several of the players before the Tennessee game, a few days before that. And, look, we hear a lot of times people talk about their faith and people sort of dismiss it. These guys were sharing their faith and reaching out and baptizing guys on campus, not just football teammates. And it became something powerful to them, not because they thought it was going to be handed to them to win a game, but it changed their relationships, and it changed selfishness and made it go away. It was impactful for them. Didn't mean they were going to guarantee they were going to win. And Notre Dame had a lot of that going on as well. Of course, Marcus talked about that a lot this year, that it made guys selfless. And I think that's the power in it. It's not, some magical thing they're going to go down and hand you the trophy if you do it. It just helps you maybe relate to your teammates differently.
I think Ohio State, they kind of get it both ways because you get your money, which you earn, but then you get a whole hell of a lot more than that, which lasts far more than the dough.
Reese Davis did an awesome job there because what you'll hear a lot of times when someone like me tweets out or posts on social media celebrating one of these athletes for thanking God after the game and referencing Jesus Christ, you think Jesus cares? You think your sky daddy cares who wins a football game? And the inference is that people are praying for victories. And this weekend, after the Chiefs won their playoff game, Patrick Mahomes took to X and posted, I think, Genesis 22:14. And he said, thank God, or something like that afterwards. And I retweeted it and said, this is the way, and this is awesome, and wow, good to see Patrick Mahomes doing something. And someone immediately hit me with, oh, he's only doing that because they won, and he's thanking God because they won. And I'm like, nah, that's not what he's doing. Because that's not what he's doing. It wasn't about the wins and losses. Patrick Mahomes just letting everybody know where he stood, and he's pointing people to Scripture. And I'm like, this is a great thing. And I think it's something Patrick Mahomes would have done, win or lose. And what Patrick Mahomes and many athletes understand, and coaches understand, is that the adoption of Christian values and immersing a football culture or even a basketball culture or any culture in those values makes it far easier to bring people together across economic lines, ethnic lines, racial lines, Catholic lines, Muslim lines. It brings people together. Those values allow men to work together in harmony or in a more harmonious fashion than a team that's immersed in secular culture. If everybody in the locker room is worried about which profane, radical materialist rapper is going to perform in the locker room after the game or be on the sidelines, and what rap lyrics are we going to curse together after the team, and how are we going to promote degenerate sex and radical materialism, if your culture is immersed in that as opposed to Christianity, it's much more difficult in that secular culture to bring guys together, because you know what they start doing in a super duper secular culture? Well, that guy's making this much in name, image, and likeness, and I'm only making this. And I had 6 tackles last week, and he only had 2. And the newspaper or the television network profiled this guy on the team, and I'm out playing him, and he shouldn't be playing. And, you know, it's me. What's in it for me? The antidote for that, for all these things that the liberals and the secular people and the leftists say they want, the path for selflessness and people working together in harmony is through the adoption of Christian values. Coaches have known this forever. Athletes have known this forever, but they've been afraid to express it because the culture's gone so secular and there was such a penalty and a price to pay. You could be the next Tim Tebow. You could be vilified for pointing everyone to Jesus Christ in Scripture. You could become so polarizing that you're not worthy of being on the team, and people won't even understand. Oh, what is Urban Meyer doing with the Jacksonville Jaguars trying to let Tim Tebow be a tight end? Urban Meyer was probably being very calculated and said, I want Tim Tebow's attitude, his values injected into my locker room. So if I'm here with Jacksonville and I'm giving Tim Tebow a tryout, or I'm trying to make room for him on my NFL roster, it's about his values and that energy, because coaches know what comes along with that. It's easier to discipline kids. It's easier to direct kids. It's easier to get kids to see the value in celebrating their teammates and helping their teammates and sacrificing for their teammates if they're grounded in a biblical worldview, if they understand the power of what 12 disciples of Jesus Christ accomplished through sacrifice and through submission to God and through submission to a set of principles and values that uplift everyone. That's what Ohio State and Notre Dame and Boise State and a lot of these teams are leaning into, and athletes and teams have been leaning into that for decades. And the media has been trying to ignore it and or eliminate it and think that DEI and, hey, look, if we just install women everywhere, that's going to improve it. If we can just get women referees and women coaches and women executives, feminism, if we can just inject that into sports and get this patriarchal religion, Christianity, out, then we'll get better results. And so we're looking at men, and this is primarily a male thing. Caitlin Clark ain't doing this. She gets interviewed after games all the time. You ever heard her talk about Jesus Christ? Hey, I'll tell you, the one person in women's basketball that occasionally does, it's Dawn Staley. I'm sure she's got a feminist version of it, but she doesn't. But again, these female athletes, this isn't their brand. This isn't what they're doing. And I know some of Leah Boston may do it a little bit. Again, she's off that Dawn Staley tree. But for the most part, this is what men are doing because Christianity is a patriarchal religion. It's about what men can accomplish. It's not diminishing women, but it's a story about Jesus Christ and 12 men. There's a bunch of other pieces. I know it. There's some women in there. I know it. But I'm talking about overall. It's a patriarchal religion. And the patriarchy has been being rejected by ESPN and every other media outlet and news network. And finally, we've been loud enough, and these kids, because it's really these kids. I want to play you Riley Leonard. He's the quarterback for Notre Dame. Here he was last night after they lost the national championship game. Play the clip.
Before I answer your question, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving me the opportunity to play in this game. I wrote on my hand Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens irons, so should one man sharpen another. And I think, like I said throughout the week, us and Ohio State were the two teams who praised Jesus Christ the most, and I think that we strengthened each other in our faiths through coming to this game and competing against each other. So I'm happy to see godly men come out on top, no matter what the circumstance is. I'm very, happy to praise Jesus in the lowest of lows as well. I think as far as this program goes, we've learned a lot. We've been through ups and downs. I've been through ups and downs. I don't even recognize the person I was before I got to Notre Dame. And it's all credit to these guys beside me and everybody else in the locker room.
You see what this young man is doing? And what Christianity does? And look, the secular people, the people that want to install diversity, equity, and inclusion departments everywhere, it's not as effective as installing a Christian culture. If you're really concerned about people being treated fairly, if you're really concerned about, we got to get more equality and we got to treat people fairly and we got to give people what they deserve, embrace Christian values. That will get you the results. Installing lesbians everywhere and making them the head of fire departments and all that, diversity, that ain't gonna get you nothing. It doesn't work. What works has been proven over hundreds of years. And it's very, very simple. And so you can run around trying to please the diversity gods, or you can get on board with what these Notre Dame and Ohio State kids have shown. And for those of us that aren't believers, we should be inspired because here's ESPN, this very, very secular news organization or media platform. They have to bend the knee. These guys were reluctant to play the national anthem. They've avoided any substantive discussion of religion for years. They've leaned into the racial idolatry and racial division constantly. They've employed every race clown they can to divide and separate us and to eliminate the Christian values that establish organized sports. You've heard me say it on this show a million times. Let me make it 1,000,001. Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA. The YMCA stands for Young Men Christian Association. They organized sports globally and here in America in the late 1800s, early 1900s. ESPN would not exist without the Young Men's Christian Association. But they've disavowed that their ancestors, the people that laid their founding fathers, and the beliefs that established sports as this global phenomenon and force in culture. They've disavowed that. And now we brought them to their knees to where everybody's pivoting and changing up And ESPN last night's got Reese Davis and Scott Van Pelt having a conversation. And on the political side, they got Donald Trump at halftime of the National College Football game. I mean, yesterday was an incredible day to see ESPN do what Snoop Dogg did, bend the knee. Bend the knee to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's firing off executive orders yesterday, letting J6ers out of jail, trying to make it okay for schools to reintroduce prayer into school. And at halftime of the National College Football game, ESPN had to air an address from Donald Trump. Let's play an excerpt from Donald Trump talking on ESPN last night.
Second half. Today, of course, was Inauguration Day, and earlier today, President Donald J. Trump had this message.
Hello to my great fellow Americans. This has been a historic and exciting day for our country. In recent years, our people have suffered greatly, but starting now, we're going to bring America back and make it safer, richer, and prouder than ever before. We will have a nation filled with compassion, strength, and exceptionalism. Through our power and might, we will stop wars and we will lead the world to peace. We will be respected again and we will be admired again, admired like we haven't been in many, many years. We'll put America first, and by doing so, we're going to make America great again. In less than 3 months since the election, you have already seen it happening. You can feel the excitement and you can see the confidence and spirit returning to our nation. Together, we're going to lead our country to glorious new heights. The golden age of America has just begun. To all of the players and fans watching tonight, I know it's been a long and difficult journey. It's been a long season. But you have two tremendous teams, and get to the game and go out and fight hard and fight fair and let the better team win. And I'm going to enjoy watching it. Thank you and good night.
So that's Donald Trump on ESPN. They've done everything over the last decade to avoid Donald Trump. Barack Obama, you want to come on ESPN and pick college basketball games during the NCAA tournament? Love it anytime. Doors wide open. Trump, no. Teams not going to the White House after winning championships. Can't do it. It's Donald Trump. Oh, I can't be seen with him. I can't be spotted. ESPN bent the knee and just told everybody, yeah, go to the White House. We lost here. We're scrambling. We're playing catch up. We've made fools of ourselves. We've run off half of our fan base. We've irritated half of our fan base. We now have to bend the knee to Donald Trump. And just earlier, before he was on at halftime, Donald Trump was in front of a microphone telling everybody, let's play SOT number 4, ain't but two genders, and boys ain't gonna be competing against girls in sports. Play the clip.
Policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Remember, this is so easy. This will be done tomorrow. We will keep men out of women's sports. It's over.
We've been having that discussion in the sports world. Riley Gaines and the Bill Thomas, Leah Thomas, that whole fiasco with the swimming deal. We've been having this conversation for 4 or 5 years. ESPN's been ignoring that conversation. Won't talk about it, won't address it, won't discuss it. There's only one side to that issue. L. Duncan and everybody, being a woman is a state of mind. And there's no controversy, even though half the country is irate. What are you doing letting boys into girls' locker rooms? ESPN wouldn't have the discussion. And now, yesterday, they got the man who is willing to have that discussion, is willing from the highest office in America to impose and support a biblical worldview on gender. There's two genders. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they were down for 70 genders or 80 genders or whatever they're told to believe about how many different genders there are. They were installing mentally ill, allegedly trans men or trans women, women dressed up as men and men dressed up as women, and installing them in key government positions. And Donald Trump and MAGA said, nah, no more of that. And now that man is worthy of being on ESPN. Yesterday was a great day for sports fans. Yesterday was a great day for people with a biblical worldview. Holy cow. I mean, I thought January 20th would be a great day, and it was. To see Donald Trump sign those orders pardoning the people on January 6th and 1,600 people, to see Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boy who got 22 years for nothing, pardon. Man, I knew it was going to be great, but I did not know ESPN would have to bend its knee as well. That was just like gravy or ice cream on top of the cake. Maybe it was gravy and ice cream on the cake. Holy cow, I was not expecting that. It was awesome. It was tremendous. And it's the power. These young kids in college football and in college sports, these young men that won't quit talking about Jesus Christ, they're a big part of why yesterday was so amazing for all of America, but for those of us in the sports world and for those of us that have to rely on ESPN for our sports coverage because they have so many of the games that we love to watch. I think, didn't they have to put out a statement defending Donald Trump? I mean, they wanted to, because they took some blowback and heat for platforming Donald Trump. And we got so much pressure. We got our foot so far buried up their rear end. They had to put out a statement and defend putting Donald Trump on their platform. With Donald Trump's inauguration occurring on the day of the College Football National Championship, it makes sense to include a message from the president, a practice that occurs regularly during major sporting events, including earlier this month from President Biden before the Sugar Bowl. That was Burke Magnus, I believe, this was Burke Magnus on the ESPN national anthem era, because I think it was before the Sugar Bowl. They didn't play the national anthem. There's a group of people in Bristol who just made an enormous mistake. It was a human error. It happens. I don't want to minimize it by any stretch, but nothing was normal about that day, including our programming lineup, where we normally would have had College Game Day and that crew leading into the game. It wasn't that. It was SportsCenter, which is done out of Bristol instead of on site. I could give you a whole host of reasons why it was not the normal circumstance, but at the end of the day, that was just a horrible error that was made by a group of really well-intentioned people who feel terrible about it. We got a foot on their neck and a foot up their rear end, and ESPN is responding to us, and they're backpedaling, and those revolutionary LGBTQIA plus trans activists that they have within their organization that had hijacked everything and run God and patriotism out of ESPN. We got them backpedaling. And you could see it last night during the national championship game. You could see it all day on ESPN. We're bringing common sense back to ESPN. You got Stephen A. Smith back. I meant to vote for Trump, but when I got in the booth, I got lightheaded and accidentally pulled the lever for Kamala Harris. But next time I'll vote for Donald. Oh, he can't run again? Well, if Barron Trump runs for president, I'll vote for him. We got Stephen A. Smith in full backpedal. I'm not saying trust any of these people. What I'm telling you is keep your foot in their rear end and a boot on their neck. Because if you give them an inch, Stephen A. Smith, he'll pop back up and be that demonic spirit and do it. Because all he's doing is what Bob Iger tells him to do. Stephen A., we're getting our butts kicked. These dang Christians and conservatives are exposing our scam and shame. Stephen, I need you to start doing a different dance. Start pretending like you're right down the middle. Start pretending like you actually know what's in the Bible. Start pretending like you actually care what's in the Bible. what a time to be alive. This is amazing. We are winning everywhere. Let's keep winning by keeping the pressure on ESPN. TJ Moe's going to join me here in a second, and because I want to go a cut deeper on what Reese Davis and Scott Van Pelt were talking about as it relates to the benefits of a Christian culture within your locker room. I just want to remove all the stupidity of like it's about wins and losses. Never been about wins and losses. It's always been, how can I mold men? How can I get men to understand the power of sacrifice? How can I get men to understand the benefits of self-sacrifice and sacrificing for each other and looking past skin color, looking past economics to see the value in each other? The path is through Jesus Christ, it's through Christianity. And that's why it's worked so well in sports, and that's why it worked for Notre Dame and Ohio State this season. I'm going to go a cut deeper with TJ Moe on that. Obviously, TJ played at Mizzou, and obviously, TJ a believer. Give me 1 second. Butter and I are going to talk about something that's nearly as important. But before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about Relief Factor. If pain is affecting your life, I have the perfect New Year's resolution for you. Make 2025 the year of feeling good again, the year of moving better, sleeping better, feeling more alive, and do it with Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, it doesn't mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. Over 1 million people have turned to Relief Factor. They feel the difference it can make in their lives every single day. Give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day, and it just takes a phone call, 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. You can start feeling better in 3 weeks or less, and every day you feel better is a day you live better. Wherever you are, hurting, pain, neck, back, joints, or muscles, make 2025 the year of feeling good again. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Before we get to TJ Moe, Butter, Butter's going to help me execute something that I think is going to be terrific for this show. When I was in Kansas City, Butter, I don't know if I gave you the backstory on where I came up with this contest, but when I was doing radio in Kansas City years ago, me and I think Stephen St. John, I can't remember who else was on the radio with me at that time, but we came up with a game called Listen or Lose. And it was a way of rewarding people for listening to our radio show Monday through Friday, while also giving them a prize for if they did listen and they could answer a few trivia questions. So we came up with this game called Listen or Lose. I think Stephen still does it in Kansas City on his radio show. We're going to bring it here to Fearless as a way of rewarding people that listen to the show every day. And we're going to give them an opportunity. It's just listen or lose. It's really, maybe we should have called it listen and win.
Somebody's going to win.
Because someone's going to win. And if you win, we're going to start through Fold, a sponsor of ours. You can win Bitcoin. Just for listening.
$100 in Bitcoin.
Yeah. Anyway, unpack a little bit of the game and how we're going to play it.
Listen or lose, starting this Friday. The best way that you can compete in it is watch the show all week. You can sign up. We'll put an email up here in just a minute. But if you want to participate in the game and be live on the show on Friday, you send us an email. You're going to need to be available from about 9:15 to 9:30 to you have to have
check
in. And then somewhere around 10:45 through 12 o'clock is when the game will start or taking place, right around 12 noon.
I think we'll probably try to play it between 11, 11:30.
Excuse me, 11:30.
Central time. But go ahead.
And it's going to be fun. And we're going to do multiple choice questions. We're going to have 3, contestants on the show. And the person that answers the most questions correct by listening or losing, and if you listen to the show during the week, you'll have a better chance of
trivia questions about the show that will be, humorous. That's where the LOL comes in. But yeah, we're gonna, we're gonna ask you questions. This is just off the top of my head. Cam Newton said Jason Whitlock is not that guy. A peanut butter can of big breast, or blah blah something else.
Jason criticized Jamel Hill for deleting a tweet about, and then we'll give you multiple choice.
Yes.
And you got to answer it.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
It will be fun. You just need to listen to the show. Send us an email at fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com.
Yep.
We're going to have 3 contestants. Again, if you win, Fold, our sponsor, is going to give you $100 in Bitcoin.
That's correct.
And look, seriously, I'm late to the Bitcoin party. I feel like this is a great opportunity for you all that have been late to the Bitcoin party as well. Fold can introduce you to it. All you got to do is listen to the show, answer some trivia questions, crack a joke or two on me or Butter while you're doing it. You answer the most questions right, you get $100 in Bitcoin, and then we'll start all over again next week. Send Butter an email at fearlessblazeshow@gmail if you'd like to be a contestant, because you're going to have to sign up for Fold eventually to be a winner.
And that's another thing that you can do to increase your chances of being picked to be a contestant is if you go to Fold, create an account. It's real easy. It takes just a few seconds. And then you go get the Fold app, and if you'll click on the trophy icon in the Fold app, it'll give you a referral link. So take that referral link and put it in the chat on YouTube. That will help us see who's, participating and wanting to participate. That will increase your chances. And this is going to be fun, Jason.
Put it in your email as well.
Yeah, put it everywhere.
fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com if you want to be a contestant. Butter, I'm looking forward to that on Friday. I'm looking forward to interacting with some of you in the audience on Friday. I'm also looking forward to TJ Moe joining us next. Rabbits have been pointing guns at me my entire career. You're late. Athletes have threatened me, jumped on me, made veiled threats, tried to be menacing, tried to get me fired, confronted me at nightclubs for decades. You're late. Many of these athletes have already jumped on me or made threats when I was actually somewhat in my prime and could defend myself physically. This is not new. You're not doing anything new. You actually, in my view, look kind of silly. You look intellectually overmatched. And so it's like, hey, I'll beat you up. Okay. What am I supposed to? Oh my God, Cam Newton wants to beat me up. Cam says he's gonna see me at the Super Bowl and I need to keep the same energy. Oh my God. I better have security with me and I better not go to the Super Bowl. Cam, that's not how this goes down. That's not how it is. And you're right. I'm not that guy, Cam. All right, welcome back. TJ, you've heard me ranting and raving about January 20th and what a great day it was. I think it was a great day for all of America, but I think even for those of us in sports America, it may have been even better. I see what transpired last night after the national championship game, halftime of the national championship game, ESPN being forced to deal with the profession of faith by the Ohio State and Notre Dame kids, Donald Trump being on at halftime. Wow. Every knee will bow, and ESPN bent the knee.
They did. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you've, over the last 4 years or so, some of this has been publicly, some of it privately, you've been fairly pessimistic about ESPN and any of these corporations making a turn. Because you say they've blown so much money into all of this, why they ever have to turn? Because, well, what do you need an audience for if you've already got the money and everybody has so much money now that why make the turn? Why do you think it happened? What do you think the ultimate, if it's not about the money, what changed? Obviously, what changed your mind is just what's happening, right? But what do you think the ultimate turn?
Well, for ESPN, once you have so many athletes just constantly beating that drum, it's in professional athletes, it's in college athletes, it put me in position, and it put others in position to start like, hey, ESPN, are you guys going to ignore this? There's clearly something going on with young people in sports. They're talking about their faith walk. And so it's this show, quite frankly, they're coming at it from a different angle, less a faith-based angle, but Outkick is putting a lot of pressure on ESPN. But quite frankly, it's just the athletes. The ones that after every game, they're making it a point to talk about Jesus Christ. And the more that happens, the more David Pollock's already left ESPN. But someone like Reese Davis, he now gets to go into meetings at ESPN and say, hey, guys, it's not just me, these athletes. We got to talk about it. We can't ignore it. We'll look silly. You're making me look like a non-believer that I can't talk about this. Reese Davis is sitting there like he's overjoyed seeing these athletes, same way you and I. Every time one of these athletes say something, Reese Davis is overjoyed, and then he gets to go into a meeting and saying, hey, guys, y'all got to let me talk about this. It's making me look like a hypocrite, a non-believer, and so, and Scott Van Pelt, again, I don't know what Scott Van Pelt's faith is. I do believe Scott Van Pelt's a good guy, and that Scott Van Pelt's like, oh, Reese Davis wants to talk about this? Yeah, I'll talk about it with him. Yeah, it makes sense journalistically. Sure. Reese is going to unpack it in a great way. And so, it's the power of these young people. And again, you got to speak these things, what you want to see. You got to be willing to talk about. And so, I don't know if I'll have to have Virgil or Anthony fact check me on this or if I'm using, but it's like these young people have kind of spoken into existence. They keep talking about it, and now they're forcing everybody else to talk.
We had a discussion on that, like there's different ideas of what speaking something into existence means, and one of your things is like you talk about it to force you to become that thing. I think there's another piece of it that is still not outside the reality of maybe what Virgil and Anthony would say, and that's like, we're speaking it in a way that you just can't ignore it. That's the reality. So whether you believe it or not isn't really material in any way. I believe it, and I'm talking about it, and I'm the story that you got to talk about. So in that way, they are speaking into reality. And your point about Reese Davis, I mean, a lot of these guys behind the scenes. I don't know a lot of them. I suspect many of the top guys are Christians, and Reese has a lot of reinforcements right there in the building. We know Dan Orlovsky is. He prayed right there on air. Based on Kirk Herbstreit and some of his behavior, I certainly think Kirk's a Christian. We know Joel Klatt is. So there's people around. I
want to be fair. I think Ryan Clark thinks he's a Christian. Yeah. And I think he probably has a sincere desire to be a Christian. I don't think he executes it particularly well, but I guarantee he's moved by the same thing. He's looking at C.J. Stroud and Riley Leonard, because Ryan Clark's son's on the Notre Dame team.
Yep.
And so he sees what's going on. It's just, so many guys, particularly if they're black, they're so caught up in racial idolatry and they want to put a racial spin on religion. And there really is no racial spin to religion. It's actually does the opposite. It makes you like,
no Greek nor Jew.
Yeah, it's so irrelevant that you actually have to just deal with people as another human being, as another image bearer, and that's the beauty of sports. That's these prayers. We saw the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh after their first round playoff game, I think. After the game, do the Lord's Prayer and he talked about how they dedicated the whole season to God. It's so pervasive in sports. And the thing that I liked about Reese Davis and Scott Van Pelt's discussion was that again, so many people want to reduce it to, y'all think Jesus cares about who wins or loses the game. And that's not what we're promoting here. We're promoting, like, if you really want to get along, if you really want to work together in harmony with other human beings, go down this path. It will take you down. And again, the path that Ohio State and Notre Dame and these other schools are on, because some people will hear it and go, well, what about the gays? And when you go down this Christian path, you're not embracing that gay identity because it's unimportant. My heterosexuality is unimportant. My heterosexuality should only come into play if I'm married. and it's about a marriage thing, and it's about reproduction, and it's about a pursuit of holiness, as opposed to the secular worldview prioritizes, well, Jason, how do you feel as a fat person? Jason, how do you feel as a black person?
Who you sleeping with, Jason?
As Cam Newton, who you effing? Again, it's a very secular worldview. But you eliminate all of those things through Christianity, and now it just becomes a set of principles about how you deal with other human beings and how you and the next man pursue holiness and push each other towards holiness. And as you're pushing each other towards holiness, working on a combination block together, making sure you're in your gap and not in another man's gap, make sure that, hey, you know, T.J. Moe, he plays wide receiver. They're going to write about him. I'm not going to be jealous that he gets more attention than me, that I play offensive guard. Yep. It's all of that that goes along with Christian culture that works with teams. And you know, I think Riley Leonard, I guarantee you there's some teams out there that heard Riley Leonard say, Ohio State and Notre Dame, we praise Jesus the most. I guarantee you Boise State was like, hold on, man.
No doubt.
And other teams, teams we don't even know about.
That's exactly the fight I'd love to see.
Yes.
Let's argue about who's praising Jesus the most.
And TJ, I think we're going to see that next year. I think young people have watched Notre Dame and Ohio State. They're watching C.J. Stroud and people in the NFL, and it's you know, I don't want it to be a fad, but there have been worse fads, and I'll deal with that fad. And I think kids are gonna be like, well, I'm gonna do it and see if it works for me.
Did you see? I don't know how to. Guy Scott, I think, is his name. The tight end for Ohio State, who started this sort of movement at Ohio State. The young kid, I was researching yesterday trying to figure out how all this stuff started. Because, you know, they made Ohio State shirts. It says Ohio State on the back. It says Jesus won on the front. And the whole team wears them. This is a movement that's happened inside the building. This kid said he had a vision. He's like, not like a vision like I saw some. He's like, God just wrote it on my heart. I don't know. But it was a vision of this team, Ohio State, getting baptized and getting saved and really making a difference. And he's like, and I went out and I texted all my friends and I tried to get everybody, and there was no movement. I'm like, man, God, what's going on? You told me. And he's like, my friends don't care. And I'm texting everybody, hey, guys, we got to get into church, and nobody cares. Months go by, a few guys start getting interested, and he's like, in August, it hit. Everybody was ready, and the whole team jumped in. And it was just this one dude who he got a feeling. God wrote it on my heart. I don't know, man. And this is Ohio State. The whole team's bought in. That's all they talk about. To the point where the running back, we saw this in the semifinal game, running back punched somebody in the face, and in the interview after the game talked about, hey, my brothers in Christ picked me up. That's not who I am. I went over to the sideline, repented, told, you know, asked God for forgiveness. That's what happened to this team. This is like real. That's not a fad. I mean, it's a fad to come out and say, hey, I want to thank Jesus Christ. By the way, wasn't that play I made awesome? That's a fad. This thing is different. What's happened? This is why it was actually hard to I hate Ohio State. Not anymore, but I've always hated Ohio State. Big Ten team, and I had some friends that were like super fans there, so I rooted against them. But man, I couldn't root them against them last night. I wanted them to score 600 points. This was it. I've seen a lot of coaches lead, you know, like the Boise State coach is amazing. And some of their players were too, but it's like when it's led by a coach, that's one thing. That's a 45-year-old, he's mature in his walk. These are kids. This was a 20-year-old tight end who was leading a revolution on his own team. That's a big deal, man.
I think Pat Fitzgerald's who I'm thinking of, the Northwestern coach. Mm-hmm. And he got in trouble for the way he was imposing culture there at Northwestern. And they had a little system that the players and the coaches seemed to work in conjunction with, where there was a little bit of hazing, that if you didn't hop on board with the Northwestern way, and we saw people complain about it. And what I think is, with name, image, and likeness, and all the player empowerment that we've seen, and where the players can get you in trouble for virtually anything. If they complain, oh, the guy complained that my hair was too long, and that's racist. Don't you know my mom took me to the beauty salon to get this hairstyle, and blah, blah, and all these tattoos. This is blah. Anyway. What's happened is coaches have been had so many limitations placed on them that I think, as a default, they just say, well, I just got to turn this over to God. If I'm going to go down, let them accuse me of preaching Christianity in the locker room. Yeah. I'll go down that way. Because I can't do anything else. I can't make them run as many stairs as I used to. I can't cuss them out the way I used to. I can't let the players haze them the way that I used to. And so I think smart coaches are just creating environments where a Christian ethos can permeate their locker room, and they'll say, okay, I'll deal with that. And so if someone in the NFL wants to complain about John Harbaugh leading the team in prayer, he'll deal with that. If some, I can remember wasn't there some coach in Oregon that lost his job for leading the team in prayer?
Washington, maybe.
Yeah. And he ended up getting reinstated. I think he got his money back. But I do think that's kind of the default position of coaches right now. It's the only thing they can do.
Joe Kennedy, high school coach out of Washington.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, everybody can pay these kids money. That's all been legalized. So I can't cheat my way to victory the way I used to.
I can't be mean because they'll all just leave legally.
Yes, they'll all hop in the transfer portal. And so what smart coaches have always done is like what's always been prevalent in Baltimore with the Ravens, with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, is the coaches there, from Brian Billick to now John Harbaugh, is they try to let the players establish a culture, and then let the players establish accountability and enforcement of that culture. And if you can get some of your Christian players like, hey guys, run wild with this Christianity, and I'll back you up. and they've done it at Ohio State, they've done it at Notre Dame, and I think we're going to see it more and more with other teams. It's the only safe and effective thing to do.
I mean, what a plan. We went from the coaches leading it and saying, you're violating the First Amendment right of these kids, to now the coaches saying, I can't intervene. I'll be violating the First Amendment right of these kids.
Yes.
That is a pretty good plan. Here's the other thing that over the last 4 years in particular, post George Floyd, holy cow, a lot of these coaches, Christian, what do you think? Every coach I ever had was a Christian. They all went to chapel and church with me. 80% of these coaches Christian, maybe?
Yes. I would.
90?
90.
I agree.
Coaching is such a headache.
Yes.
That you can't do it without God. I mean, what motivates you to get it? Particularly high school, junior high. I think of Larry Willen. He was a legendary longtime assistant coach at my high school. Must 40 some odd years of being an assistant coach. And I think about the things he did for certain. I've written about and talked about. We had this guy, Kris Hurt, that grew up in the projects, lived in the projects. And Larry Willen used to drive him home from practice most days, stop at McDonald's, get him something to eat before he dropped him off. And again, these guys are doing this on teacher salaries.
Yeah.
Larry Willen was never rich, not a day in his life. And Kris Hurt wasn't the only guy that he was helping and buying a little extra meal. That you can't do that without God. And these high school coaches, and again, some of those, they transition into college or whatever, but the headaches, again, you and your kids were at my house last night, and I just looked at the headaches you and your wife were dealing with for 2 hours, And I was like, can't do that without God.
You cannot.
Because what I would do, hey, I'm out, guys. Yep. I'll be downstairs asleep. You kids take care of yourself. And I go on. But anyway, hey, we're going to bring in Steve Kim here and talk a little bit more of the hardcore sports angle of last night and a few other topics from yesterday in the world of sports. So don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. We're about to go a little bit deeper into the game last night, what we can do to fix college football. There were Joel Klatt and others were kind of frustrated. Everybody was kind of like, hey, man, it's Monday, January 20th. Everyone's talking about Trump and the inauguration. Everyone's talking about the NFL playoffs. Oh, there's a national college football game on tonight for the championship. Is there a way to fix that? We'll talk about that with Steve Kim and more. Before we get to Steve Kim, I want to talk to you guys about our great friends at Preborn, the Sanctity of Life Month. We honor the more than 66 million babies whose lives have been tragically ended through abortion since Roe v. Wade. Sadly, since Roe was overturned, babies' lives are at an even greater risk because the abortion pill accounts for more than 60% of all abortions. This tragedy is available on demand 24/7. But in the midst of this darkness, there is a light that shines. Preborn has rescued more than 300,000 babies from abortion. And every day, on average, Preborn rescues 200 more babies. When a woman considering abortion hears her baby's heartbeat and sees the face on an ultrasound, that baby's life is changed, and his chances of survival more than doubles. Preborn shares free heartbeats and God's love for mother and child, but they need our help. If you have the means, would you consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Your tax-deductible donation of $5,000 will sponsor Preborn's entire network for 24 hours, helping to rescue 200 babies. To donate, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Preborn has a 100% charity rating, so you can give with confidence. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell, next.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's Trending Sharp, a.k.a. Uncle or Auntie Day Day, America's #1 bronze sexual. Kwame Brown think he won't get smoked? Tell him, Skip.
Bayless. Skip Bayless. Oh, whoa, Skip.
He don't want these problems. No, sir. Dylan Brooks, John Morant, Brett Favre, these
Skip
don't want it with they. It's like my granny told me. I got a basketball Jones, and his name is Bill Russell. Yeah, Skip. My granny had a thing for Bill Russell. You think I love LeBron? I ain't got nothing on how my granny felt about Bill Russell. Broke her heart when Bill kept marrying them pink toes. Yeah, Uncle Zay got a hankering for pink toes too. I hope Ron don't find out.
What the Skip?
I'ma get kicked out of the Nation of Islam. You gotta give up pig skin and pink toes to join the nation. Bronze sexuals, I am the throat goat.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps. I see that you are 배불러 So
All right, welcome back. Steve, did you enjoy last night's national championship game, or did you doze off to sleep?
Well, I enjoyed the whole day. I mean, what a beautiful day and a celebration of America. Seriously, I enjoyed the whole day. I spent time with you guys in the morning, watched your inauguration coverage. And first of all, I just want to say, TJ, based on what you said about Michelle Obama, if you were a boxer, you would be Andrew Galata. I mean, you really hit below the belt. Still funny though. And then then the other thing is, I want to give Miss Carrie Underwood some credit. The musical machines, the auto-tune did not work, and she just belted out that song so beautifully and harmonically. Miss Underwood, you are the pale Anita Baker. Excellent job. You did it. By the way, Mississippi Valley State, the Big Green Marching Machine, they did a great job. Really happy for those young men and women that performed. Once in a lifetime opportunity for them. Then I did the 3 knockdown rule with Mario Lopez. I mean, we were hilarious. Best boxing show on the market. Can't disagree with any of that. And then the national championship game I thought was hard fought. And Notre Dame played as well as they could. But Jason, as I told you for the last, 5-6 months, Ohio State is the most talented roster in the game. $20 million well spent. And when it was all said and done, the generational talent that I told you about, Jeremiah Smith, was ultimately the difference.
The $20 million thing you just threw out is being discussed, and Oregon and Texas actually spent a little bit more than Ohio State in name, image, and likeness. So we can't just simply say, like, Ohio State bought a national championship. However, I do think the system does need some tweaking in terms of there's a lot of disparity between what the have spend and what the have some spend and the have very little spend. And I just don't know if this system is sustained. And maybe it's always been this way. Whoever spends the most wins the national championship, and now it's just more out in the open. Yeah. But we got to tweak this system in some sort of way. Yes? No?
Yeah, of course they do. But Jason, what's the biggest difference between the system then and now? Easy. The money's now over the table instead of under it. And I'm just wondering, was the old system better? And look, the other factor here is the transfer portal. If you look at this Ohio State team, Jeremiah Smith was a high school recruit. So you could say, all right, that's an organically developed player. However, when you look at Caleb Downs, who's going to be a top 10 pick at safety, excellent football player, he was a transfer portal guy from Bama. Quinshawn Judkins, one half of that dynamic duo in the backfield with Travion Henderson, came from Ole Miss. Okay, Will Howard, the quarterback, who played very well within that system, Kansas State. So it's clear that moving forward, it's not just the NIL, but you have to be able to exploit and utilize that part of the player personnel department. So the days of just having 85 of your own players that are homegrown and developed, those days are completely over. And even guys like Dabo Swinney are now realizing that.
I want to play I'm doing this a tiny bit out of order, but let's play Nick Saban, and then I'm going to get to Joel Klatt. Here's Nick Saban talking about name, image, and likeness, and I wonder what you think about the idea of Nick Saban potentially being a commissioner for college football and getting some of these things in line. Let's play the clip, and then, Steve, you react.
But all I'm saying, the people out there need to know this model is unsustainable. Okay. It's not good for players. I mean, people in Congress, I don't care who has to get off their butt and do something. Players need to get compensated, no doubt, but it has to be done in a way where we, some kind of way have competitive balance.
Yes.
That every school has the same thing. One school can't spend $30 million for players while another school's spending $3 million.
Agreed. You're the one that's going to have to fix it. Hour one wrapping up here from the National Championship. We're live.
Yeah, I agree with McAfee. He's basically saying we need someone like you in charge of college football.
All right, maybe we do need a commissioner, but it has to be pointed out. People that really know the inner workings of college football will tell you Alabama had a pretty good budget. They had a pretty good budget themselves. They weren't exactly playing on a level playing field. But to the bigger picture, does there need to be guardrails in terms of the NIL and then even the transfer portal? There's no doubt about it. Because I find this to be very hard to follow. And there used to be a time, Jason, as spring ball ended, you kind of knew who your team was. Now guys are transferring even after playing in the spring game, and you really don't know who you're going into battle with until about, mid-June? So my view is this, Jason. First of all, with the name, image, and likeness, remember what it originally was about, and me and you have talked about this. It was about the iconic player on campus that was known regionally and maybe nationally, which means Chris Webber and the Fab Five in their baggy shorts. It was about Tim Tebow at Florida. It was about UNLV with Larry Johnson, right? It was about that level of guy that could make their own merchandise or paraphernalia, and they should get a piece of it, or a local restaurant or a chain. They want this kid to be able to sign autographs and name a hamburger after him and let them get paid. But very quickly what happened is a thing called the collectives. And every athletic department or university has one, and they basically raise money through the boosters, and that becomes their budget to pay players before they make one single play on campus. Jason, my view is this. If you really want to make a name, image, and likeness that means something, I would make it so you can't give anyone an NIL till they play their first year. Honestly. And that would, and then also in terms of the transfer portal, I would say you get one transfer, and you also still have to sit out a year the way they used to, because what they're allowing now, as Nick Saban said, basically anarchy.
Well, I don't believe in the transfer portal at all, and so I want people penalized for transferring, and
sit out a year.
rather than just yes, the whole sit out. Go ahead.
Pretty convenient for Nick Saban to have all these ideas now that he's out of coaching.
Now.
Pretty convenient when he signed 8-year, $93 million contract to coach. There's no coaching salary cap. Boise State can't afford to pay their guys $12 million a year. These 5 schools can all get the best coaches and pay them whatever they want. No salary cap talk there. And the same 5 schools win the national championship every year. But now that we can start paying some guys at different levels, now we really need to put Nick Saban in charge.
Well, TJ, couldn't it be that once you're retired, you have a different agenda, narrative, set of goals? No?
No.
Why
He's being
not?
a hypocrite. It's easy, to TJ's point,
He's being a hypocrite.
it's very convenient for him now to want a level playing field and play Floyd Landis. Give me a break. I think, look, there are people out there that I would trust, like Joel Klatt. Joel Klatt's tweets about moving Army-Navy to week 0 as the showcase game and shortening the season. He has a lot of common sense thoughts, which is a theme in our country that I like. I kind of like Klatt. He may have his biases. He played at Colorado. I get it. But a lot of these inequalities, as TJ mentioned, Nick Saban had no problems exploiting those loopholes for about, 15, 20 years?
So, good segue into Klatt. I want to read you this tweet Klatt put out about yesterday's game. We should be playing the national championship on January 1 every year, our day. Make it special. This is supposed to be the pinnacle of our sport, the destination for every player, coach, and fan. Yet somebody decided that playing the national championship on a Monday night deep into the NFL playoffs was a good idea. The mismanagement of college football has been egregious. I agree. I think we'll see that my prediction is this is going to be a low-rated national championship game. They're competing against all the inauguration news and January 6th pardons with Donald Trump, and the Monday after a terrific weekend at NFL playoff games. What do you think of Klatt's ideas about fixing college football?
I completely agree with Commissioner Klatt. And I was with Coach JB last night, and he had completely checked out. Jason, I'm a traditionalist. I'm old. Look at my hair. Okay, the bottom line is this. College football is not to be played or meant to be played in late January. Basically, when we were growing up, it was January 1st, and that was it. Then they extended it about a week or two to allow like the BCS and then the championship games. I can handle a championship game being on January 6th or 7th. I think that's reasonable. You start getting in to the 20s, and you're literally following and sharing the spotlight with the National Football League playoffs, it doesn't feel right. And it almost feels like too much of a good thing. What I've always found interesting about college football is that I'm always more excited and energized by the start of the season than I am by the end of it, with the bowl games that are basically meaningless in this playoff now that I care about, but it does drag on. Sometimes more is less.
I'm going to tell you the other thing, that the length of because what did Ohio State just go, 15-2 or?
Yeah, they lost twice.
14-2?
14-2, I think.
14-2, something. I don't know. They went something in 2. That's a lot of games, and to me, it brings attrition more into the game, which favors the powerhouses. And so I just think the college football playoffs are never going to be upset-ridden, or upsets are going to be a big part, because the more talent you have, the more you can survive a 16 or 17-game college football schedule. It favors the rich. And so
Jason,
Notre Dame is a rich school, but not in comparison to name, image, and likeness. And so they really had no chance. They may have had a chance to upset Ohio State in October, but by January 20th, when they played all them games, no shot.
Well, Jason, I agree with you in theory, but keep this in mind, though. They're now getting paid. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? They're going to play less games? No, they're going to make them work. They are now professional athletes by definition. You could dress it up all the way you want, but there is no technicality. You get paid for your services as a football player. Let's not say student athletes, because you are getting paid. Okay. What did you think was going to be expected of you? Less games. Also, in terms of the depth, I still hear it, but I don't think it's as pronounced because of the transfer portal. A lot of your backup depth pieces that would, sit around 3, 4, 5 years before ever playing at some of these blue blood programs are probably now transferring out. So I think the depth is an issue. It is a factor, maybe not what it was even 10 years ago.
Let's move to the National Football League. Ben Johnson, the Lions assistant coach, landed an enormous contract from the Chicago Bears. $13 million or something, maybe 13.5. Man, he's getting more than Dan Campbell and a lot of people in the National Football League. What do you think about the Bears? They interviewed Eddie George and ended up getting the best candidate, the hottest candidate in the National Football League. Will Ben Johnson save Caleb Williams and stop Caleb Williams from getting his nails painted?
Well, I don't think that is ever a possibility. Caleb is going to be who he is. But Jason, there's this Twitter account that I really like. I think it's called First Round Mock Draft, and he was a former scout. And this guy had his doubts about Caleb Williams last year. He flat out said on the record, I think Caleb Williams grades out to a 4th-round draft choice. And if you read beyond the stats of Caleb Williams, who looked good in terms of yards and percentage completion, all that stuff. But when you look at some of the stuff like how long he holds the ball, sack rate, his completion percentage with passes that go above 10 yards, he's pretty poor. And again, Ben Johnson, his effectiveness with Jared Goff was under center, setting up play action, throwing the ball on time consistently, staying on script. That does not exactly scream Caleb Williams. This is a very interesting mashup of coordinator, philosophy to player. I don't think that Caleb Williams is a perfect fit. I actually believe that Ben Johnson is going to have to alter what he does philosophically to a certain degree to make this work. So I'm not so sure. I'm very high on Ben Johnson even after Saturday night. I don't think that's the perfect quarterback for him, though.
You think the Bears is the right job for him? Would you have wanted something better or different? You got a team that just committed to a quarterback a year ago. I don't know were the Jets a better option? You got a 40-year-old or 40-some-odd-year-old Aaron Rodgers who will potentially they'll move out of the way. Did he take the right job?
At $13 million, there's probably no wrong job. And look, these opportunities don't come along often. There's only 32 of them. And right now, he's the hot coordinator. And you don't want to be the hot coordinator that's then not hot a couple of years later. I think it's time for him. Look, last year he turned down jobs. He got even more seasoning. But keep this in mind, that NFC Central That is a deep division. There's the Packers, there's the Lions. I mean, right off the bat, you're already thinking, can we even come in third place? So again, Caleb Williams has some natural ability, but I don't think it's a fit that is a natural like it was with Jared Goff. But again, great coaches can adapt, they can evolve, they can change things. Look, I don't think it's a bad fit because I think Ben Johnson is a very bright offensive mind who's going to have to make some adjustments. And I actually don't think the Bears roster is horrendous.
Let's move to the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was added to this ownership group to up the credibility, perhaps attract a better head coaching candidate. They fire Antonio Pierce after 1 year. There was thoughts that Brady might be able to lure Mike Vrabel to the Raiders. Vrabel is now with the New England Patriots. There was thoughts that Brady may be able to lure Ben Johnson to the Raiders. Ben Johnson is now with the Chicago Bears. Shaky start here for Tom Brady as the kind of face of the new Las Vegas Raiders. You put any of this on Brady?
Not really. Look, the only way that Raider job can be a good job, because I think it's poison. I think it's toxic the way they've built that organization and where they play, where they don't have a home field advantage. Jason, the only way that Raider job, to me, if I'm Ben Johnson or anyone else, is an attractive one if Tom Brady says, hey, buddy, I'm coming out of retirement. I'm going to be the Raiders quarterback. Mm-hmm. That team is hopeless. And it kind of reminds me, why do people think just having Tom Brady is going to attract all these players to play? It reminded me in boxing, guys. About 7 years ago, Rock Nation decided to become a boxing promoter because that's always a very fun venture, right? And everyone thought, oh, my God, Jay-Z's going to get involved in boxing. So all these managers go up to New York and these fighters, they're all wide-eyed, and they all signed with Rock Nation thinking, man, we're part of it now. Basically, their careers were ruined, but on the bright side, well, they got a selfie with Jay-Z. So I never understood this. Well, he's in the front office. Right. I'd rather have Tom Brady under center, even at his age. I believe that Raider job is a tough one. And I have an idea. I brought it up earlier this morning. How about letting bygones be bygones and bringing back John Gruden?
That's not bad.
He's the only guy that succeeded there. I mean,
yeah.
When was the last?
Nominally.
You did have a who was the coach of the team that went 12-4 with Derek Carr? That was
Rio.
More recent than John Gruden.
Wasn't that Jack Del Rio?
So they've had. Probably right. They've had moderate success for 1 year. That he was a borderline MVP that year. Other than that, it's basically been John Gruden cutting through. My take's similar to yours, Steve. Why does anybody assume that Tom Brady is good at anything other than being a quarterback? Yeah. Why do we think he's a good announcer? Because he's not yet. In fact, he's worse because he's an owner, because he can't go sit in the meetings with these other coaches and owners to figure out what's going on. He's kept out of them. So he doesn't get all the inside information that many of these guys who would say, hey, I was talking to the coaching staff on the other team. They said to look out for this and that. You hear Tony Romo doing that. You don't hear Tom Brady doing that. So he's not that good of an announcer. Why does anybody think he's going to be a good owner? And he's going to lure all these people in to say, hey, I was really good. Trust me, I can help you be really good by not playing.
Well, Tom Brady showing up in a room and making a pitch to be the coach, that's better than Mark Davis or Al Davis's son making that pitch.
Why? Mark's still paying the bills. Tom's there with a big smile saying, hey, you know what I'm good at? Losing about $100 million in crypto. That's great. That's me in the business world.
Hey, guys, didn't Derek Jeter try to be a front office guy with the Marlins? How'd that work out? I mean, there's like this celebrity culture where we think, wow, that guy's going to be good at everything, as TJ said. It's not. I mean, like Magic Johnson, all-time greatest Laker in my view, Jason. I know me and you are big fans. Great.
He's got the Commanders in the NFC Championship. What are you talking about, Steve? Magic has sprinkled his little magic dust.
Yeah. All right. Owning about 0.75% of the team, which is still valuable. But I remember when he tried to coach, that didn't work out. As a front office guy, I mean, I guess he lured LeBron. It wasn't all the money. And then never mind, great talk show host. That did well. That literally ruined careers of people that were associated with it. So again, Tom Brady just merely being in the front office of the Raiders, I don't think means much.
Who's the most successful, great player that's become an owner in history and made any sort of splash?
Jerry Richardson, the owner of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, he was a player.
He was
a player. Yeah.
He was a player.
A player, not an all-time great player.
Oh, but took his team to the Super Bowl. Listen, hold on, though, for a second, Steve. Magic Johnson has won a championship with the Dodgers. Now he has the Commanders on the brink of a championship. What are you talking about? This everywhere, everything Magic touches turns to gold.
Yeah, except talk shows and a good line of movie theaters and his own Starbucks. But look, this is like when Jay-Z.
Let me say this. Let me say something really inappropriate.
Your Magic homerism. Oh boy.
Magic Johnson turned HIV into a treatable STD. I mean, everything the man touches turns to gold.
I give him credit. He's healthier now than he was in 1991. But this reminds me of when Jay-Z owned Net. And it turns out he owned like 0.000.5. So, okay. Doesn't exactly make him Dr. Jerry Buss of Brooklyn. But go on.
Is there any other former player? Wow.
They're all honorary owners.
Michael
These people
Jordan.
do nothing. And Tom's actually trying to get in and do something.
Yeah, Michael
Jordan's the worst owner of all time.
Well, Jerry
no
West
doubt.
was a hell of an executive. How about that? Jerry West was a hell of an executive.
Ozzie
And so it's a
Newsome
good one.
was a hell of an executive.
There you go.
Ozzie.
Boom. There you go.
Ozzie's a great one.
There you go. And
Tom Brady's not one, I can assure you.
Well, he's early into the
watching.
process. He's very early into the process.
And I don't like guys. We just talked about. Now I don't know exactly what Jerry West did exactly. I know Ozzie Newsome was a GM, so he was actually involved in the game itself and evaluating talent as opposed to ownership and stuff.
Yes.
I don't know what Jerry West was doing exactly, but just walking in and being the
architect.
attraction. Okay, so he was he the GM, de facto
Jerry
GM
West,
of the Lakers?
Yes. I mean, look, Bill Sharman made a lot of the early moves, but it was around 81, 82 when Jerry West, the logo, became the full-time GM. So he can't take credit for Magic and Kareem. That came before him. But when it came to drafting big game James Worthy, which, by the way, in retrospect, was not an easy decision because there was Terry Cummings and Dominique Wilkins. And the other moves that Jerry West made, picking guys in the late 20s when there's very few players left, like A.C. Green, Nick Van Exel, and then also trading for Michael Thompson to stop Kevin McHale. In my view, Jerry West is no worse than the second or third greatest NBA GM of all time. So he earned his stripes.
Steve, I want to end on a somewhat light note. I wanted to get your opinion on this. And TJ, Kris Boyd, the special teams player or player with the Houston Texans, I believe, that shoved the special teams coach. Can we play that clip? Demeco Ryans has come out and defended that he said that was not a disrespectful push, I believe is Demeco Ryans.
Okay.
And
okay.
If it's not a disrespectful push, it must be a respectful push. Respectful or disrespectful, that push. Steve, you fire first.
All I know is this. Steve Tasker would never. Raina Thompson would never. Elvis Patterson would never. And let me just tell you something. They would never do that to Frank Gans or Joe Avanzano. That right there shows you. Now, I really like Demeco Ryans. He's an excellent young coach. I believe he has a chance to win championships with that foundation. He is help architect. But there comes a point in time you got to have some discipline and be able to call it out. I wish Demeco would have said, "Hey, buddy, go in the locker room." Like Mike Singletary. Remember what he did to Vernon Davis, where he basically said, and that was after like some penalty that didn't, he flipped the guy's face mask. He just said, "Vernon, get your helmet, get in the locker room." And he had the famous words, "Can't win with them, can't lose with them. I need winners." That's not winning, and that's a shame that coaches today do not have that authority or control just to tell a guy like that, take a hike.
One of these days, these coaches are going to pull Woody Hayes out here, and these players who can remember Travis Kelce did his little chest bump with Andy Reid.
Yeah, and it was disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely was.
Yeah,
it is weird to me, and it's you could say it's a little bit different. It's sort of like the story Steve tells all the time with Emmitt Smith, who fell asleep in the meeting. It's like, hey, buddy, wake up is a little different than, hey, you're cut from the team, because we treat everybody fairly, not equally. Maybe, yes. Maybe it's like that with Travis. It is weird to me, though. It's like, you don't touch a coach. There was a time, and I didn't really play during this time, Jason, you probably did, where when a coach didn't have your attention, he'd grab you by the face mask.
Yes.
And he'd start dog cussing you until you had enough spit on your face that he had your attention. And that time is long gone now. You do that today, that coach, particularly, I mean, you do that in Little League, you do it in high school, that time is long gone now. And now we swung to the players. If they just get aggravated enough during a play, they can come up and push a special teams coach or walk into your head coach because you're irritated that you're not getting the football. I really don't like it.
Yeah, I think I've told this story. Our best or second best player, I won't call his name, Mose Carter, he got in a fight with one of our assistant coaches right on the field, his position coach. And it just all went away because Mose was too good and we couldn't win without him. And to be quite honest, I would actually defend Mose for his actions in that. I won't go into it on air, but they were fighting about the same girl.
Oh, man.
You leave me on this team and I'll make sure you don't go to prison.
Yeah. Anyway, Mose is a great man, great football player, a big-time believer. Mose, that's the old Mose. People, I don't want anyone in this congregation thinking that's reflective of the Mose Carter we know and love today. Mose is one of the greatest players in Ball State history. Anyway, so that's all I got, Steve. I've got myself in enough trouble. I'm still.
I just want to make one note here.
Mose came out of the womb looking. You know how Terry Crews looks? That's how Mose came out of the womb. At like 3 years old, Mose was like that. It was like, holy cow. Mose, I don't want you beating me up, so. I love you, brother. Hey, Steve, you got a final thought? I'll let you go.
Yeah, not in defense of Woody Hayes, but when he hit the player, that was a Clemson player. I think his name was Chuck Bowman. So, again, not defending it, but it wasn't his own player. It was an opposition. The guy had an interception. But, again, not defending it, just pointing it out for a fact. That's all.
Got to be a little more subtle, like Mike Tomlin, you know?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna let Steve go. Bring in Shamika Michelle. There's rumors. I didn't know that. I just found this out today that Barack Obama may be paired off with Jennifer Aniston.
A woman, so he's straight.
Yes. Anyway, and we're going to talk to Shamika about Nelly and the way he defended himself for performing with Donald Trump. We'll discuss both those things with Shamika Michelle in just a second. Before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about Home Title Lock. Have you ever checked the title to your home? If you're like me, the answer is probably you weren't in the habit of doing that, but you need to be, and that's exactly what scammers are counting on. They want you to be laissez-faire about your home title. In today's world, you need to take responsibility for protecting your biggest asset, your home. The FBI calls it house stealing, and let me tell you, this is a real problem. Here's how it happens. A criminal fills out a one-page document with your information, forges your signature, stamps it with a phony rotary seal, and files it with the county. Just like that, your home isn't legally yours anymore. These criminals don't even want your house. They're after your equity. They take out loans against your property, then disappear, leaving you with debt and a legal nightmare to deal with. But you can take action and protect yourself. That's why I trust Home Title Lock to protect my greatest assets. Their triple lock protection monitors your home title 24/7, alerts you of any changes, and if, God forbid, you're a victim, they work fast to restore your title with no out-of-pocket cost to you. Don't wait until it's too late. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code FEARLESS for a free 30-day trial and a free title history report to ensure your home hasn't already been compromised. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code FEARLESS, or use the link in the description for 30 days of protection and a free title report. Take action now. Protect what's yours. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Shamika Michelle, next.
power, Jason. He just don't know which direction he needs to go in because on one hand, he can't defend the police because they're not white. On the other hand, he can't defend Tyree because then that goes against his anti-Black Lives Matter narrative that he's always pushing. So what's the next option? Blame black women. Oh my God, so original. But you know what? I have some concerns, Jason. I really do. Are black women the reason why you gotta buy 2 seats on an airplane? Is it the black woman's fault that you can't separate your love for cheeseburgers? Is it the black woman's fault that your cholesterol is higher than the Empire State Building? Is it black women's fault that you walking around here built like Uncle Fester? Is it the black woman's fault that you ain't seen a treadmill in 30 years? Is it the black woman's fault that your neck is non-existent? Is it the black woman's fault that you ain't seen your wee-wee since you was 7? I mean, I can go on and on and on, but it's clear you have enough struggles going on in your life. So do me a favor. Let black women's name taste like a salad and keep it out your mouth.
Hey, I kind of like her. Now, that was good material. That was good. I cannot hate on this woman. That was damn good material. Nice. I don't even have anything to come back and say other than say I enjoyed that. I hop in my DMs, baby. All right, welcome back. Shamika, I'm going to start where I'm not supposed to start, but someone put this in front of my face. I think it was Steve Kim. He sent me this over Twitter or over X. Have you seen this speculation, scuttlebutt, that Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston are a couple? Let's play the clip, and then we'll get your reaction.
Did you hear this about Barack Obama?
Yeah, I did. I was going to bring it up yesterday and I forgot. But yeah.
Jennifer Aniston?
So the rumor, House and Habit had this story and some other sources that the reason Michelle Obama didn't go to Jimmy Carter's funeral and the reason that Michelle Obama will not be at the inauguration with Barack Obama on Monday is that they're on the rocks and that they're splitting up and that they're going to announce that split soon and that he has been quietly dating Jennifer Aniston.
You think he finally found out she's a man?
Stop it. Stop.
What? Is that conspiracy theory?
I think that's a conspiracy theory, too.
Let's not deal with the man's gender issue. Let's just deal with the Jennifer Aniston. Do you think this is potentially true, that Barack has recrossed the street and gone back to the other side of the tracks? He's gone back to suburbia and the white women he enjoyed while in college. Has he had a relapse?
You know, Jason, I don't think it's far-fetched, especially since I've always thought Jennifer Aniston had kind of a masculine look at times, because I personally think Barack is gay. I've always thought Michelle was his beard. And just the way he posted that picture the other day, I mean, God, this was from a man who obviously did not like the woman sitting across the table from him. I mean, you could see the bald spot around her edges. She just did not look appealing. And I thought he must hate her when he posted that picture. So definitely, I think something is going on. I don't know if I completely buy into the whole Jennifer Aniston thing, but it does seem as if there's something going on. Remember, she told people that she hated him for about 10 years. And I just feel like if your marriage is in a good place, that's not something you state to the world. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I got a bunch of different takes on this. One would be, man, I think it would be a very difficult transition to go from let's say in July or August or whenever he had a roundup of black men and wagged his finger. How dare you not support Kamala Harris? You know what, we got to go out and support Kamala Harris. We got to support this black woman. Y'all not keeping up y'all's part. And then come January, you done dashed back across the street and you hanging out with Jennifer Aniston. I just don't. I don't see that transition. I don't think I disagree with your take that Jennifer Aniston looks masculine. And then the other thing, as it relates, people have said about this picture that Barack put out that clearly he doesn't like Michelle. If I put out a picture like this of my wife, she would kill me and blah, blah, blah. I'll go the other direction and say, maybe he put that picture out so he can say, I had no choice. If this is how your wife ages, you have every right to pursue Jennifer Aniston.
That's not true. That is not true.
I know it's not true, but
what do you mean?
What?
And what makes you think that any of these people in D.C. are faithful in the first place? Do we think Jennifer Aniston is a brand new thing, that he just crossed back over the street, or that he's been living on that side of the street his entire life and he needed a black woman next to him so he could be the president?
That's what I've always believed.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I said this from the get-go. A light-skinned Negro from Hawaii, raised by white people, that's not the black woman you marry. That is not her. She's not as tall as you. Her back's not as broad as yours. Her hair and eyelashes aren't that kind of fake. When you are a light-skinned Negro from Hawaii, raised by white people, if you marry a sister, she's going to be a mixed nut. She's going to be a African-American, red bone, peanut butter skin. Barack Obama should be married to Joy Taylor. I would buy that. If he were married to Joy Taylor, big cans, peanut butter skin, and can pass for white half the year when the sun's not out, that's who the light-skinned Negro in Hawaii, raised by white folks, marry. I've never, that's the one thing, you just don't get the down-home, round-the-way girl from Chicago that is a tiny bit masculine. It's not what you do.
Here's the other part of it, that he may have assumed, wrongly perhaps, that Michelle would take over and be president someday. And she may have decided that she's not going to. He may have no use for her anymore. If it's finally done, because if the split happens, I think she's not going to be president anyway. If you don't have Barack attached, I don't think Michelle can run on her own with some new husband and have the same political gravitas and such. And so if she had decided previously, I'm not going to be president, I'm really not. Well, what am I doing with you anymore? I didn't like you to begin with.
Now that's some good work there. TJ spilling all the tea. Go ahead, Shamika.
I was going to say, unless she comes out and says that Barack has been cheating across the street, then she definitely would get a lot of sympathy and empathy. So she would still garner those votes because he did her absolutely wrong. Although, again, I don't even think Joy Taylor would be his type. I'm thinking more of Don Lemon. That's who I think his type is.
I'm not going to passionately disagree with you on that, but I'm just telling you, light skin, raised by white folks, Joy Taylor is his type if he prefers that type.
Steve Kornacki.
Steve Kornacki?
Yeah.
But I think TJ's, they have a political marriage, and if the politics is over, if maybe Biden, remember they said Biden went rogue and said, hey, I'm naming Kamala to succeed me, and maybe the plan was for Michelle to ascend to that, and the power couple, Barack and Michelle, would keep on going, and now that Biden jacked that up, and now that they've already run 2 women for that office and it's failed, and maybe they're like, well, we ain't gonna do it a third time. And so maybe her political value is all out the window, and Barack's like, well, I don't need to fake it no more. Years and years ago when Henry Kissinger or whoever, Mika Brzezinski's daddy, I can't remember who said years and years ago, we've got this black communist Barack Obama, we're running for president in 20, 30 years. Maybe now that that's all over, he can just do what he feels. And if he's not gay, Jennifer Aniston makes sense for what he feels.
You know, maybe the chef knew this, and that's why he ended up in the bottom of the lake. We still haven't gotten to the bottom of that death yet. So I think there are a lot of skeletons just hanging out the closet. I'm waiting for them to come out the closet, as well as Barack. You know, we'll see. We'll just see what happens.
I want to switch back to what we talked about, or what we planned on talking about Nelly. I know you're a Willie D fan. You're a Scarface fan. You know more about Scarface than you do R. Kelly, which kind of surprises me, but maybe it doesn't. Anyway, Nelly was on with Willie D of Scarface, and Willie D's one of these gatekeepers that tries to make sure that all black people think the same thing politically. And Nelly defended his reasons for performing at the inauguration, did a pretty good job on it. Let's play Nelly defending himself.
Are we talking about the president, or are we talking about the candidate? Are you talking about candidate Trump, or are you talking about President Trump? That's two different people to me.
The candidate Trump and the President Trump is two different people?
Two different people.
So you saying, I guess your point would be...
Because I don't think Obama would sit there and laugh and chuck it up when he know cameras are watching with a known racist. I don't think he would do it. I don't think he would do it. I don't think he would sit there, play buddy, chuck it up with somebody who he really thought was a known racist or Hitler or whatever they say. Like, I don't think he would do that. I just don't think he would do it.
I think he'd do it. I mean,
why? So why would he get a pass?
Because Obama is a former president, so it's the dignified thing to do. You know,
so it's politics again.
It's the politics.
So it's politics. It's politics. So we right back in politics again. So politics.
It's also politics is the reason why Michelle is not.
So politics excuses politics. I am honored to be performing for the office, for the president of the United States, regardless. Ain't another president asked me to perform. Ain't nobody called Nelly. I would have performed.
Well, ain't nobody ever asked you to come to a Klan rally either. But you know
what you mean? Why would I go to a Klan rally? I don't live in a Klan country.
Well, this is a Klan country.
What's the D stand for? Dumb? Willie Dumb? What does the D stand for? you the Scarface, or what was the name of the Willie Ghetto Boys? You the Ghetto Boys expert. Yeah, what's the D stand for in Willie? Willie Dumb?
Yeah, you know, Jason, I'm embarrassed. And I think my gangster gauge must be off. You know, ever since you outed Tupac, and then we saw how Snoop Dogg acted over the last few years, and now Willie D. I'm embarrassed. You know, I am embarrassed because Nelly just ran circles around him. He had no good argument. He couldn't stand on it. Now, I disagree that, to me, the president and the man or the candidate are different people. I think Trump is who he is. However, I am with Nelly. You respect the office. That's the way that I felt of course, I like Trump, but I felt that way when my family gave me a hard time about going to the White House. Like, this is the president of the United States. You have no other family member that has ever gone to the White House to sip champagne and have hors d'oeuvres. You know, we've never had a presidential candidate to bring his campaign to our city to just try to see, how a person lives and what the city is about. And our city couldn't even get behind it because of how much they hated President Trump. But you had a presidential candidate here in the city. So I am with Nelly when he says he's the president of the United States. You respect the office. And so Willie D to me is just being fake. And I want to say to him, don't say I didn't warn you about playing them punk games. This is a punk game that you're playing, Willie D. And I'm embarrassed. As a fan, I'm about to just, break my CDs in half, try to erase all the lyrics that I know word for word from my head, because I'm not liking what I'm seeing from him. The tap dancing for the Democrat Party, like, how much more do they need to do for you to see it's time for a change? It's time for a change.
And maybe the D stands for Democrat. Maybe it is Willie Democrat, and we just didn't know. But Willie, I'm saying this in all seriousness. I would love to have Willie on the show to hear him out. I would give him an opportunity to speak and share his opinion. Because I know Willie doesn't like me. He's made other videos criticizing me. I don't get it, but I do get it. There's a check, and there's a Willie D and the Ghetto Boys. Maybe he's been to some Diddy parties. Maybe he's been to Epstein Island. Maybe he's done so much dirt that they have over him that he has no choice but to defend this. But to be trying to put Nelly on trial for performing at an inauguration of a president, it was like what Jim Brown told me when Trump took office in 2016 or won the 2016 election. And people were giving Jim Brown a lot of smoke for going to meet with Trump. And Jim Brown was like, hey, man, Barack Obama never offered to meet with me. I would have loved to have met with Barack Obama. He never invited me. Well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, is Jim Brown and Uncle Tom a coon? He spent his whole life working to help black men that had been incarcerated transition back into life. But now he's an Uncle Tom. Barack Obama never invited Jim Brown because he can't stand Negroes like Jim Brown. Can't stand Negroes like me that feel like, hey, black people can stand on their own 2 feet. They don't need white people or Jews to carry them across the finish line. We can do it on our own. And we're not allowed to be talked to. If we don't think we're Negroes in need of a white or Jewish savior, we can't be talked to. And, I get Willie D, I think, is a part of that group that feels like, hey, man, you out of line. Don't you know what Massa, you better get Massa's approval before visiting with Donald Trump.
It's also a little bit different for an inauguration than like the DNC. I wouldn't perform at the DNC. They're murdering babies outside. But the inauguration's different. He's already the president. Now we're saying, let's celebrate this as a country. It's kind of a bummer. I didn't vote for this guy. But it is the office of the president, and the former president's going to be there. And all of the people who are running our country will be in this same room. I can shake all of their hands and hope to someday get in a room like Jim Brown did and perhaps make some changes.
I'll look at, Kim Kardashian had the freedom to go meet with any of the presidents and ask for what she wanted. If she wanted this person released from prison, she got to go in and make the request, and she was either given the green light or said no or whatever, but she had the right to go meet with Trump, Bush, Biden, whomever. I just don't understand. Black people in this gatekeeping and this lack of freedom that we don't allow ourselves. Could you imagine if Booker T. Washington and all our ancestors, the people that paved the road, well, I'm not going to meet with the president until I'm 1,000% sure he's not racist. Well, we would never meet with the president. I mean, right. and again, I'm just at a different time, place, age. I don't even care if they're racist. I don't care what they think about me. I really don't. And we've so prioritized ourselves and so come up with this deal that we're the chosen people and that how we're treated determines whether or not how God feels about you. I just don't have those kind of supremacist thoughts that I'm so important to this world and my skin color is so important to this world that what somebody thinks about me or my skin color determines their standing with God. You got to be a supremacist to think that. And I'm not one. So, Shamika, thank you. You got a final thought? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think in order for Willie to come on the show, I think I should give him one more chance. He would have to perform with me because I make big money. I drive big cars. Everybody know me. It's like I'm a movie star. So I just think that should be the criteria for him to come on the show. He would have to perform. I mean, Bushwick Bill is dead. Let me do his parts. That's going to be my last chance, though. I'm throwing him a lifeline, and that's it. His biggest fan will step off the fan bus if he don't shape up quickly.
Now, if he does come on and y'all perform, I would like for you all to do My Mind Is Playing Tricks on Me. That's
Gotcha.
One of my favorite Ghetto Boy songs. If we could do Mind Playing Tricks on Me, I would approve that. Willie D, the invitation's out there. Willie Democrat, Willie Dumbass, whatever the D stands for. I'm sorry for cursing. I ended the show on a bad note. All right, thank you, Shamika. Sorry, guys. No discipline there by me. Let's play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I just want, I wanna be. I just want, I wanna be. I just want, I wanna be. I just